The Swedish presidency of the European Union kicked off on Wednesday against a very tough backdrop. The outright fiasco of the 6-month presidency by the Czech Republic, whose government collapsed halfway, and the very energetic presidency of France in the second half of 2008. From Stockholm, the message now is one of humility and optimism. With the economic crisis, the situation in Iran and the talks on climate change pulling together like a global perfect storm, the modest Swedes are set to deploy considerable diplomatic efforts, responding to the global crisis, preparing the EU for the interior changes, assuming of course that Ireland will ratify the Lisbon Treaty in October, and to further deepen existing strategies.
Vår målsättning är naturligtvis att EU ska gå stärkt ur denna finanskris. Samtidigt så är vår generations kanske viktigaste och största utmaning att hantera klimatförändringarna. Här finns ingen tid att förlora. Vi kommer att göra allt som står i vår makt för att nå enighet om ett internationellt klimatavtal när vi kommer till Köpenhamn i december. Dessa två huvudprioriteringar kommer att prägla det svenska ordförandeskapet, men vi kommer också att behöva hantera en rad institutionella förändringar. Det är ett nyvalt Europaparlament som ska börja sitt arbete och det ska utses en ny kommission. Dessutom råder oklarhet om huruvida Lissabonfördraget kommer att kunna träda i kraft under hösten. Och detta blir ju viktiga frågor att hantera för att skapa stabilitet och effektivitet i EUs framtida arbete.
Through the G8 meeting in L'Aquila in Italy and the G20 in Pittsburgh, the next 6 months offer us a good opportunity to prepare for the future, to prepare for a new economy. The economy after this crisis will not be the same. And we believe that we in Europe could, in fact, drive this movement to a low-carbon economy, to a more dynamic, competitive, open economy, but with new ways of consumption and new ways of addressing some of the European and global challenges. We want a Europe of opportunity, responsibility, and solidarity, a Europe of smart green growth, a Europe with more ethical and effective regulation and supervision of financial markets, a Europe that has the single market extended and not weakened.
One of the immediate concerns on the Swedish agenda is to get approval from the European Parliament for a second term as Commission President for José Manuel Barroso. It is still not clear how this majority in favour of Barroso can be established, and it looks like Sweden will have to accept that the Parliament will only vote on this in September and not in July.
Men svaret på frågan är att jag har inlett konsultationerna. Jag kommer att fråga hur de ser på den uppkomna situationen, vilken förutsättning som finns för ett tidigt beslut i Europaparlamentet. Om de kan uttala stöd för José Manuel Barroso på samma sätt som Europas stats- och regeringschefer har uttalat, eller om det möjligen finns förslag på någon annan kandidat. Jag hoppas att kunna genomföra dels de konsultationerna nu under veckan. Vi kommer också ha den särskilda talmanskonferensen att komma till Stockholm på måndag. Allt i förhoppning om att så snart som möjligt få detta beslut på plats.
We should have clarity as soon as possible, of course. This is important. That's what citizens expect. There were elections to the European Parliament. Afterwards, there was a decision of the European Council. So I hope that the decisions are taken in a way to reinforce and not to weaken the European institutions. I'm sure that the majority in the European Parliament wants a strong European Union and a strong Commission because we have a lot of work to do.
The situation in Iran will also draw the diplomatic energy on the Stockholm-Brussels axis. Reinfeldt wants to make sure that the EU's position cannot be abused by the Ayatollahs as an excuse for violence and repression inside the country.
Iran is a very important country in itself and in the region, and to understand the world of today. I think it was a clear message given in the elections and very clearly also afterwards in the reaction that the Iranian people in itself are calling for reforms and freedom, something we know about, we think are very important and we stand up for in Europe. We will do so everywhere. But of course, we must ask ourselves the question, how could we support this and at the same time not come into a position where we have been before, that we polarize Iran from the rest of the world and that we are made an excuse for use of violence or use of repression inside Iran. That was the balance we needed to strike in Europe and also other parts of the world.
It is clear that the Swedish presidency faces significant hurdles in the next 6 months. But then that's what you get when you live in interesting times. Raymond Frenken, EUX TV.